Hey, it's March 31st, 2025, and it's Nutball Cop. Real quick video, because my son and I were just talking about this when he came home from work. He was dismayed at the sight of unmarked, unidentified, refusal to identify federal agents that are involved in these immigration sweeps. And I had to impart to him the reality of my generation in law enforcement, whether it was in the military police or as a civilian police officer. We don't have secret police in America. We don't have Nicaraguan hit squads. We do not have East German Stasi. Well, at least we didn't in my day. But I think that's the total intent of many governors and the current regime that has taken Washington, D.C. and the United States of America hostage. Okay. I'll tell you the story I told my son here in just a minute, but we all saw the video at Tufts University. No IDs, no marked vehicles, no police on their windbreaker or raid jackets, no badges, refusal to identify when asked who they are. Okay. This is something I know extraordinarily well since back when I was a Army MP sergeant, military police corps, working with Army CID, which a lot of people, they've seen NCIS on the television. That's the Navy investigative branch, criminal investigation division. That's the Army's equivalent. NCIS and Army are basically the military branch's FBI. In fact, many of our senior warrant officers and our special agent in charge actually have to go through the training at Quantico and graduate from the FBI Academy's supervisory course to become a special agent leader in our group. So back in the day, I was on a DEA task force through my undercover unit in Army CID, and we were doing some work with some locals. And we got a report from a citizen through the county sheriffs that there was open air drug dealing in a beautiful park just about 10 miles off a post. And no matter who showed up, including guys in military uniforms and their BDUs, there was literally open air drug dealing in front of the people's homes that surrounded the park. People, hanging out, having a picnic or a lunch at the park. They were being pretty blatant about it. So we actually got an informant who got us connected with the group that was running the business out of the park, selling cocaine, and we did a buy bust. And we all swooped in, the whole task force, and DEA agents, U.S. Marshals, Army CID, local police, county sheriffs, we're all there. And one of the residents came out of her house and asked what was going on. So, of course, none of the DEA agents that are deep undercover, or none of us in CID that are the actual street people that are working undercover, we're the street teams, would go up and identify ourselves. But, like, the detective sergeant from the sheriff's department would immediately, and he's in plain clothes, but he would immediately take out his, billfold badge and ID card from the sheriff's department, walk up, present it to the citizen, identify himself as a detective sergeant with the local sheriff's department, and explain to him what the hell we were doing. And they said, in this incident where we all showed up, there was about 14 of us that snagged about 4 suspects. A buyer, a couple of sellers, a guy that we knew had something like $40,000 worth of felony warrants out for his arrest. So we ran down him through the park and tackled him and brought him back to the van to be transported as well. But when the person asked us, why is this happening? And the detective sergeant from the sheriff's department explained this was all a result of a citizen's complaint. And then the woman who was asking the question leans forward and whispers, "It was my husband and I. We reported them to you." I'm going to go, okay, good. Now they're not going to be here anymore because they're now under arrest. But the point of this is anytime you're on a police operation, even when you're dealing with undercover elements, there are always people there to identify themselves as agents, as investigators, as peace officers, whoever's there, and we will openly and publicly identify ourselves. at least one person on our team, which sort of think of it as the community liaison of the search warrant or the buy bust or whatever's going on that day. Somebody will walk up and identify him. Now, there were certain cases in certain neighborhoods. I remember this in East Salinas. We don't go in that neighborhood to go hit a door unless the perimeter in the Army, if you're a grunt, you know them as chalks, the outer perimeter teams. Those are all uniformed in patrol cars or on traffic motorcycles. Those are all uniformed Salinas cops. The reason for that is we don't want the vatos or the homies or the white meth heads stepping out of an apartment with an AK-47 thinking that this search warrant is a ripoff by another gang or another criminal element in the county. We wanted to be really sure that they knew we were police and this was a police action, because we don't want blowback in the form of some panicked meth head opening fire from his an apartment doorway thinking that we're going to rob him of his, 14 grams of meth and his $3,000 he made this week slinging speed, So, my son was pretty upset. He goes, "How is this America, Dad?" And I go, "It's not. It's just not. You don't have the right to run around pretending you're the Nicaraguan secret police in the United States of America. You have no right to say that you have total control over a populace the same way. It's not just the populace. The police this generation, at least some elements of this generation, truly believe they are in charge of the populace, our thinking, our families, the business, and the economy. Okay? That's the East German Stasi. That's not American law enforcement. That does not fall into the theory of law enforcement of Sir Robert Peel. No one's come up with a replacement for Peelian theory, because Peelian theory is about taking the militarization out of law enforcement and making it a truly investigative and community supporting activity. That is being dissolved in real time. And I'll have an essay coming up later in the week. There seems to be a power grab by the Missouri state governor to literally create the Missouri Stasi, where he personally controls all the big city police departments, and they do his political bidding. When I mean his political bidding, he's just a bitch for dear leader porn star Humper and Nazi Elmo and the rest of the nationalist crew that's taking over the country. Okay? So, wrapping it up real quick, should there be teams of federal agents in unmarked police cars, unmarked windbreakers, no badges, no identification when a citizen asks them what's going on, okay? All of that is improper. All of it. Okay? Literally, this is not America. This is not American law enforcement. Okay? Anybody at any time that came up and asked me for my identification when the circumstances, when obviously I wasn't under deep cover, then I identified myself. Now, I understand with the little leftists, the neo-hippies that are out there, they do this thing I've seen online, I've seen it on Instagram, auditing, where they go up and they demand to know the officer's name and badge number. By the way, that's nothing new. They used to do that to us on the West Coast. It was usually the Santa Cruz hippie types that did it. But when people would walk up to me and I was wearing a blue uniform, my name tag and my badge, and they go, "What's your name and badge number?" And I'm going like, "This is my badge, and it has my number, and here is my name. If you're blind, I'll recite it for you." "Well, I'm not blind." I go, "Then what are you pulling? You can read my name. You can see that I'm in police uniform. You see I have a proper badge on, and my badge number is on my badge." Okay? "Well, I'm going to file a citizen's complaint." I would immediately reach into my pocket, hand them my business card, and go, "Make sure you don't get my name wrong." I wasn't worried. They had nothing to complain about. They were just trying to fuck with me somehow in some simpleton format, and I wasn't playing along, nor was I worried about it. But the whole auditing is nothing new. But having police roam the streets, refusing to identify themselves, to refuse to mark themselves as agents or officers, that is holistically wrong, and it's part of dear leaders' Stasification of law enforcement, which is a compendium from the completely status overplay that happened after 9/11. Creating DHS was probably the worst thing we've ever done for law enforcement in the history of America. And I don't think it's going to play out well. I think everything that's going on now is buttressed by you have a crooked regime that now understands they have this very large agency. In fact, it's the second largest agency behind the Department of Defense that can literally be used as a secret police or a Stasi or just simply a goon squad. Aren't you going to? I'm going to call the goon squad. I am the goon squad, Princess Bride. Okay? Yes. Nobody should be roaming through the streets with police powers when they refuse to identify themselves or they refuse to mark their presence when reasonably required. And definitely, if a citizen asks who you are and you're not undercover active, you have a lawful fucking duty to identify yourself properly. Anybody that argues differently is lying to you. Until next time, think about it.